Okay. Wow. Okay, everybody, are we ready to get started and do some makeup together? Yeah. Woo. My name is Vee. I'm the lead artist here at the Makeup Pro Studio. I'm so excited to have all of your wonderful sunshiny faces inside of this room today. Today, we're going to be going through my usual step by step of when you are in an editorial shoot and you don't know how much time you might have in between individuals. I'm going to show you the things that you should be considering, the steps that you will be taking to make sure that no matter what step you're at, this person that will be in your chair is ready for the camera, no matter what it is. Just all different looks, steps, and processes along the board. Okay? Awesome. Any questions or anything like that, please feel free to raise your hand. Like, I'm a gabber, as you can see. So like, I would love to be able to, answer some questions or whatever you'd like to do, okay? So this is our wonderful model today, Jocelyn. Jocelyn is the assistant manager here at Makeup Pro Studio. She is absolutely phenomenal and we love her. My model also canceled today last minute. So give it up to Jocelyn for being a model today. Which is also a very normal thing that happens in the makeup world. We run with it. So before we actually got started, I went in with some crowd info on me and my makeup prowess and everything. I was a designer at the Kitchener Hotel for the show Sleep No More for about 6 years. I worked on American Horror Story NYC. I worked on Poor Things, and recently last year I was on tour with Melanie Martinez for Portals. So I have done everything and then some. SFX work, stage work, theater work, glam, all of it. I've been in the business now for about 10 years and I love it. It's a cool thing. Makeup is cool. We love it.
Okay, President.
Thank you. Very proud of my accolades. They get hair directly inside of the mouth. So, also, by the way, when you guys put hand sanitizer onto your hands, are you guys massaging your hands thoroughly until your hands are dry? Yes? It's okay if not. I'm here to tell you that your hands are not fully disinfected until they are dry. If your hands are still wet while you're still moving and everything, alcohol, hand sanitizer, doesn't matter. They are not disinfected. Make sure that they are dry. Now, the other side. And again, we're just trying to do this simply. It does not have to be perfect. I'm not trying for it to be. Actually going to be focusing too much on the eyes. We just want to have this be like the most enhanced, perfected version that we can go to have somebody. This is going to be great for headshots. This is going to be great for somebody who's doing commercial work, for press work, so on and so forth. We want the skin to look absolutely immaculate, airbrushed, perfected. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm sorry if you guys wanted something a little bit more pizzazzy. I'm just trying to do it. So now, here, I see some spots that I don't actually want that I could start with. So I'm going to go in and a little bit of makeup remover. Plus the under. So the one thing that I could be able to really attest to and say within the makeup world is that things can be taken off. Don't be scared of that. I think that there's like a huge perfectionism type of like fear when it comes to makeup application. And that's just not gonna work. Something's gonna mess up, and that's okay. I think that what happens more so is that as long as you continue to educate yourself in ways that you can mend whatever mistakes may happen, that is what is going to more so empower you as a makeup artist versus trying to get it perfect on the first try. I have the shakiest hands under the sun. I'm known for my line, and there's a reason for that. So like if there is something, don't shoot yourself in the foot. It's okay. Just get a Q-tip, get some makeup remover, and it'll be fine. So now from here, that's really all that I'm going to be doing to the eyes. I just wanted a little bit of definition. So now we're going to be moving into concealing and general. So I'm going to be going in with the HD Skin Concealer. The reason why I'm using actually more of like our sheer products for this particular one is because I like to do a lot of layering when it comes to concealer. Most of the base will be concealer versus actual foundation. So right now I'm using the shade 2.5N, the shade 2.05N. I'm so sorry, would you mind speaking up just a little? I couldn't really take it. Oh, and then outline the eyes. The thing is like you can do that. You're just making yourself go through another step. Because the thing is that like depending on how high up you bring the concealer, if you bring it all the way up to there, you're going to be removing it anyway. There's no real point to it, honestly. If it makes you feel more comfortable in your hand, absolutely do it. But saving a little bit of product, it's going to last you a little bit longer. And then on top of it, as time goes on, you'll be able to go back in with the pencil and intensify it if you have to. So that's why I would say in this context, I think that this might be your more foolproof way of doing this. And if you do it the other way, that's okay too. You're just adding that extra step into it. Does that answer your question? And then finally, 1.55N. So these are our three concealing shades that we'll be going. So now firstly, what I like to do is that when we are focusing on complexion, I will kind of start immediately in this area right here on the sides of the nose. Because when you think about the actual face as like an art piece, right? And you think about it in the values of art making in and of itself, the eyes will fill in a lot of gaps. So do you need the utmost coverage over here? Not necessarily if you're like looking straight on those things, like especially in editorial shoots, it might not be the most necessary thing to have to put into the makeup look. So we're going to be starting off over here with a little bit of a warmer concealer tone. Even though it is a neutral, there is a tiny bit of warmth to it. It's about like a shade or two, a shade maybe deeper than what I would typically go for.
What was the question?
Oh, this one? This is the 144. The 144 is a really fab brush. I probably have about like 6 of them in my own personal kit. They're like a little sexy little cat's paw, you know, and you just like blend out concealer with them. That's great. I love it. We take the concealer. For your mouth as well, for any darkness right here. And then gradually begin to buff it back. Are you all familiar with oil painting whatsoever? Like a little bit, some yes, some no, a little bit. Okay. So you know that in the process of oil painting, there's just a lot of layers that are done, very sheer layers on top of themselves, built into each other. Yes. Oh, you want me to speak up a little more? Sure. Okay. Do we want to turn this off maybe or put it lower? Hold on a second. Is that it? Okay, great, awesome. Hey! What was I talking about? Oil painting, that's what I was talking about. So in the process of oil painting, it's just really, really sheer layers of paint on top of themselves over and over and over again. The more and more that you utilize it, you are developing the shapes that are happening. It's meant to look not necessarily translucent, but that the skin is fully realized, right? In this context, we're doing virtually the same exact thing. We're just doing it with different sheer layers of different tones, different finishes, to make sure that the face looks as complete as possible while simultaneously looking its most advanced self. So now I'm going into with the second shade that I had said earlier, whatever that was, or is it 1.55? Guys, come on, you have to be with me on this. 1.5. And I'm just placing this right onto kind of which direction? So you see this little like dip that sort of happens here, like where the cheekbone is like at its most round. So I like to place. I know that a lot of folks like think about it like from like the outer third, like that little like trick that's very popularized. I think about it more so from the actual orbital bone, because a lot of the times there is that discoloration that is happening underneath of the skin, that it goes continuously back all the way back up to here. So over here, I like to try to fill in that gap by going in a little bit lighter. I'm using another little trick that I like to do to fully realize that spherical shape. Sorry? This is the HD Skin Concealer in the shade 1.55N. And I just place it right and buffing it out into the temple. I'm trying to elongate as much as possible. Now, mind you, of course, this is taking like a little bit more time because I'm sort of like explaining it through, like as I'm doing it. On like actual set, this would take you maybe like 15 minutes at tops, you know? This is this one. Oh, yes, that is this concealer. Yeah. It's like more so water resistant than it is waterproof. So again, like the reason why that I'm using like these particular products today is that we're going to make it like water resistant. It's not necessarily going to be like waterproof entirely because that is not the goal of this particular makeup look. But if you did want to do that, right, you could just be able to take like 2 to 3 drops of Aqua Seal. If you know the little, awesome. Literally, you could do the same exact process that I'm doing right now, just adding Aqua Seal to it. Baby, you're good as gold. So I'm just going in with whatever is left over my brush is the little forehead, down the bridge of the nose, across the tip of the nose, across the philtrum, on the very tip of the chin. Now from here, this, let's say that I had the photographer be like, literally, you're taking way too long, even though it's been like 15 seconds, you know? You're gonna take a powder puff now with nothing on it whatsoever. You're going to press it across the concealer that you have placed down. A little bit of lip gloss, brow gel, out the door. You don't have to put any powder on whatsoever. This is perfectly adequate for something editorial where you're just trying to look for basic, clean glam. Obviously, we're not going to be ending here. We're going to keep on building on this. But for right now, like, remember how I said that all through the process, if someone calls you in, how are we going to be looking? This is going to just be the first position of it. So now from here, I'm going to be going into the lightest of the concealer. And this one is the switch my concealers around. That's so funny. The one that I was using before was the 2.05N. The one that I'm using now is the 1.55N. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So in Makeup Forever, all of our products are going to have a letter that's going to be attached to it. And it's going to either have R, it's going to have Y, it's going to have N. Yeah. And then Y for yellow. Now with the lightest concealer, right into that immediate pocket, right here on the sides of the nose and bring it up. The reason why that I'm bringing it a little bit up across the sides of the nose is because we are trying to do less or do more with less. So in this context, I'm going with a lighter concealer on the sides of the nose and bring it upwards because now the middle of the nose, the bridge area right over here, it's going to be a little bit deeper because I didn't bring the concealer up that high. It's going to build a natural contour that's going to be happening down the sides of the nose. And all you have to do that, it's just buff it in. So if you're somebody who like feels a lot of anxiety around contouring the nose, or like feels like it's like way too methodical of a process and it's really not your tea, babe, You can just do something like this, highlighting in like a reverse type of way, or contouring that way. Oh, sure, sure. It's irritating. It absolutely is irritating. But a great little tip that like if that's ever an issue for you, honestly, just going in with like the smallest amount of concealer, like the on the very tips of your brush, and just very lightly feathering it right on top of it, just to sort of move it around a little bit. That's probably going to do the best thing. You can like, use this for literally anything. I mean, truthfully speaking, like when it comes to brushes in their entirety, think of them more as a utility, think of them as a tool. So even if you have something that's like, I mean, you can really do anything with everything if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like if you like put your head of like, oh, I want to use this to do a very technical placement of blusher. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So now from here, we go again with a sponge. I'm just keep pouncing this across the skin before the powder puff absorbed some of the moisture and applied some of the texture that the velvet of the puff had. With a sponge, it's going to bring back a tiny bit of moisture while putting that in the texture of the end of the sponge. Whenever we're pressing something into the skin, always consider the texture that it's leaving. Another question? I'm so sorry. Have I put it on? No, I've only put on the concealer right now. So what I would probably say then, what could be happening is that either your primer might be of a water base or some other sort of like formulation that is negatively impacting the formula of the foundation that you're using. Because if that's what's happening, it's taking off huge chunks of it and it's making it patchy or grainy or whatever it is that's happening. More often than not, it's because of the combination of the two formulas sitting on top of each other and it's not connecting to the skin. So if you have a water-based primer, but your foundation is silicone, it is not going to attach. Same thing with vice versa. So I would always recommend just to look at your formulations first and see if they're compatible with each other. And then I would say take it from there. But if you're finding though that a sponge, no matter what, is causing you grief and irritation, I would recommend then maybe to try to go the powder puff route and then utilizing a powder puff to blend out your foundation instead. Fully dry, no product on it, creams are okay, liquid's okay. I would say try it out. Yeah. What's that? How do you neutralize the dark circles? I'm so sorry, would you mind repeating that one? If you what? Sure, sure. It's gonna be like too much of a product. Yeah, totally. So I really do always think that in this context, less is more. So then utilizing as minimal amount of product as possible while achieving the most impact as possible, right? So in this case, like Jocelyn's under eyes are relatively, they were like almost virtually perfect when she sat down. So like makes my life a lot easier, you know? But on somebody else though, you know, like utilizing color correctors, it should be okay. If I use a color corrector on her, it would be kind of ridiculous and unnecessary because it wouldn't be counteracting anything. It would just be an additional product sitting on her skin and it wouldn't actually be providing anything of merit to the final makeup look. It just makes your job a little bit harder and more irritating. So I'm going in now with the Super Boost. Has anyone tried this yet? It's like so hot, sexy, gorgeous. I promise. Oh my God. I have always been like a hyper full coverage girly. She's trans, so you know, she kind of bugs out a little bit sometimes with color tones. But this foundation is genuinely one of the most incredible I've used. It kind of dries down into like a, not like a demi matte, but almost like a velvet matte finish. It's like a very, very soft type of matte, and it sort of just looks like your skin, but like as if like you slept well, which I know that most of us are. Kind of just process into the skin. The shade, by the way, is the shade 6. The Super Boost. So you can see that in just like initial application, I took like I think like 2 little stripes of it, and I'm going to be applying this to the entirety of the face. all I'm really trying to do is just to make the cheeks, the jaw, the nose, the forehead as harmonious as possible without disrupting Jocelyn's natural skin complexion in its entirety. She has like one of the most like beautiful faces I've ever seen and like the most like smoothest skin possible. I'm not trying to completely disenfranchise that to build a new face on top of it. So I'm going back in with the shade 7. And this we'll be using to add a little bit of like color, like a little of the sun, you know. We're not going to be using a sponge this time. I'm going to be going in with the 156 brush. If there are any brushes that you will be taking away from this class, I would definitely say it's the 144 that I was using for Jocelyn's concealer, and it would be the 156. Both of those in their entirety are, you could be able to do anything and everything with them. It's like technically our blush brush. I'm going to use it for bronzing with a liquid bronzer, essentially. Why that I like using this particular product so much for bronzing specifically is because it's so sheer, like on its own. It's like, it's not like you're applying nothing to the skin, but it's like a very like just thin amount of it, you know? How silly is that? Like, oh my god, it's like you're putting nothing on, you love it. Like, that's not what it is. Exactly. Thank you so much. I'm gonna translate this from That'd be so sick if you could. We're gonna apply it across the temples, the very highest parts of the cheekbones, into the forehead. Now you might notice like the place where I put that original highlighter of the concealer right there, and going over on top of it with a bronze, right? Does anyone have any idea why it is that I'm doing? Any thoughts at all? Absolutely. Exactly. We might remember like all those like contour sheets that shows like the exact spots that we want to contour and like this and that. Blah, blah, blah. All of it should be going into each other. Like all of it should just become harmonious like throughout the process. So now from here, I'm going to go back in with a actually first hello. Okay, we're good. Closer to see. Does anyone know why I sprayed at the top of Justin's head, missing her head originally? Does anyone have any thoughts about it? Exactly. So when you are spraying somebody's face like with setting spray, you want to spray above them first so that they kind of hear the sound, they feel the actual moisture fall onto their face. It makes them less like, right, yeah. Because a lot of the time too, like when it comes to people getting their makeup done, it's about the actual process of it. It's about like how comfortable they feel. You know, we want to try to make it as like best thing you've ever experienced in your life. Because that's how you can have it good. So this is going to just be a light setting. Again, there's no product on my powder puff. All it is that I'm absorbing anything in excess. And now from here, I'm going to take a step back. Awesome. And you turn your head good. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. So from here, I can see that there's like some parts that I might want to just like define a little bit more. So I'm gonna go back in with the 1.55N. Does anybody know why I just did that? Why I stepped away to look at Justin's face? Yeah. Exactly. You are literally painting. Exactly. You are literally painting somebody's face with cosmetics. You want to take a step back because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have seen. But this area kind of got a little bit disappeared because I went over with just a touch too much of the bronzing. You have to remember too that like you kind of get lost in details, you know? Kind of get like lost in the cells a little bit. Now from here, keep going. It's not carve it out. I think I want to go back in now with that wrong thing to bring some of that dimension, maintain it. Just right on top of it. And whatever is left over on the brush. I tend to follow the rule and guideline. What was it? Was it Scott Barnes? Maybe it was Scott Barnes. Whatever. From the very top of the ear, you don't want to apply more product past 2 inches. You want to maintain your main deposit of product in this little area right here. And whatever diffusing that you do, there's no more additional product moving downward. It is only whatever is here into the rest of the cheek. That is typically like the general rule of thumb that I try to follow. I found a pretty good amount of success using that rule. But again, it's kind of up to you. Everyone's face is different. Technique is going to be different. That's just not what I like to do. I'm so sorry. So essentially, yeah. So like, it's pretty much like you're following the very top of the ear, right? It's not necessarily for all cheek products. Let me reiterate. It's utilizing this for contour guidelines, essentially, right? Because like when you look at somebody's face, right, you don't want to bring in contour all the way into the very middle of the lip. You know, not many people's face is going to need that. Maybe somebody might, but not many, right? So when it comes to like the actual sculpting and definition of somebody's face, right? Contour is shadow. Shadow is cool tones, right? It is the inability of the sun to access that particular area. So there's no warmth hitting it. So when you're contouring and sculpting, you're using a cooler tone. So something cooler is going to look recessed back into space, right? So any sort of contouring products, you want it to be at the furthermost back possible so that when someone is looking straight on, all of the dimension that you've provided and created is going to be there. Buff it in well enough so that it continues to maintain that shape as their face moves. Does that answer your question? Does that help? Okay, great. Yeah, so I didn't actually contour with it. I just went in with a little bit of bronzing. Sometimes when it comes to contouring on, especially on editorial shoots, it can get very muddy very quickly. I think that especially if you are not fully savvy in utilizing cool tone shades, because it's just going to look different than a bronzing shade. You know, it's different placements, right? So I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing a cool tone contour in that context. It just makes your life a lot easier, especially if it's this sort of like generalized editorial type of approach. You want to kind of stay within the warmer tones. It's just much easier on you as a makeup artist. Now, don't get me wrong. If you feel comfortable using cool tone shades, baby, hit the ground running, you know? But when it comes to most other folks and things that they might need, because as makeup artists too, we also want to kind of understand and think about like, how much work do I actually have to put into the thing that I'm doing? You know? Why make my life 15 times harder if it doesn't have to be? You know what I mean? Okay, so now from here, we go back in one more time with the brush that I applied at that bronzing palm with. Because now I just want to diffuse the edges of where I place that concealer. Okay, and then also move. I also like to blend all my products up and back towards the ear, or pressing it down. I feel like I maintain a lot more control when I'm doing that kind of sense. Okay. So now from here, we're going to go again with some cream blush. This is the HC Skin Face Essentials palette and the shade, what is it, 3? Harmony 2. Harmony 2! Oh my god, 5. So we're even going in. You can kind of see a little bit of Jocelyn's like natural pink kind of like showing through. It's a beautiful blusher color. We're going to just kind of maintain that and sort of build it upwards, right? I wanted to kind of remain in sort of this area. Yeah. So we're mixing both of these. And little tip for you guys. Have you ever experienced that when you are applying blusher, that it kind of like picks up like a little bit of your foundation underneath of it, or that maybe it's not like connecting correctly, or that it just feels a little funky, choppy? just mixing it a little bit with whatever complexion product that you're using, the tiniest bit of it. The formulations of them together are going to provide a little bit more coverage. And because the formula of whatever complexion products that you're using prior to it is the same, so using that blush with that formula, it's going to combine much easier. Take the tissue. We're going to brush. I'm taking off whatever excess that I have of the bronzer on the bench. And I'm going to just now buff the blush into the cheek. The reason why I'm using the same brush in this case is because the amount of product that was left over in the bronze was so minimal, but would also allow for a little bit more of that transition that's going to happen into the bronzing that's happening into the cheeks. So now for Jocelyn's face, she has phenomenal cheekbones, and I really wanted to emphasize that a little bit more while maintaining a little bit of blue tone. So I applied a majority of the blusher into the center part of the cheek, and then buffed it upward, ever so slightly, not with the entirety of the product. The reason being is that I want to maintain the volume that's happening in the center parts of Jocelyn's cheeks, but I still want to give her a tiny bit of lift, so that's why we're just ever so slightly bringing it up across the very top of the cheek. And so now remember how I said that there was another tip before for under eyes and everything? Say that you have an under eye on a client that is very stubborn. And no matter how much color corrector that you're applying to it, it is just not going away, no matter what lighting that they're in. It's just like cool tone and they look kind of doofy, okay? Going into the blusher that you would place onto the cheekbone and bring that into that same pocket all the way up here. All the way up here. You see this spot right there. Obviously, again, on Jocelyn, not the most necessary thing, but this is just something to keep in your tool belt that if you feel as though that somebody's under eye area, even after you apply concealer, even after you applied your color corrector, going on top of it with some blusher is going to help you out tremendously because of the pinks, because of the oranges, because of the other colors that are going to be happening inside of that blush. It's helping you to neutralize it even more so while saying that this is a blusher. You know, you're kind of playing mind games a little bit in that context. Whatever's left over on the brush, we're going to just run through the eyelid. The reason why we're running this to the eyelid right now is because, again, this isn't really like an eye look based makeup look. It's purely complexion for the most part with a little bit of emphasis on active. You have somebody who is rushing you for the next model to be in front of the camera, and you don't have, you know, even like 4 minutes to do like even a slight shadowed wing. Just run some blusher across the eye. Give it a little bit of juice, you know, give it a little bit of something. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit of sculpt right into the pocket of Jocelyn's cheek right there. So again, I'm going back into the palette. So we are going to be going with a combo of these two right here. Mixing these two together. I want to be a little bit deeper. So go up. On the side of the shade. Cool. Your life so incredibly easy. Guess what brush we're going back in? Oh my god, isn't that crazy? And I'm gonna just dip it into the pigment, babe. So now I'm just taking off whatever excess is on my brush, patting that off. With Vee, there's like nothing left on the brush. That's kind of like the point, you know, like try to use like as like little as possible. And again, like I said before, I'm maintaining that 2-inch rule of thumb. You have to do that. You have to maintain that 2 inches, not necessarily, but if you don't feel the most confident and comfortable with like flusher placement, bronze placement, spell placement, so on and so forth, this is just a really easy way to kind of give you that. And now in Jocelyn's case, because she has such fat cheekbones, you taking them. This is something. Have not picked up any more products. I'm taking this now and buffing it back, the front of you, and into the back of the jawline. And whatever is left over, once you can go up ever so slightly. And we're going to just redefine that spot with a majority of the definition. Bring it down, right into this area. Don't feel afraid to like buff into the same with any like deeper shades. Like if it's going on a lighter shade, you don't have to feel like too afraid of it. If it's like a lot of product, maybe don't do that. But like if it's just a very minimal amount of product, it's entirely okay. You're just working with making harmony. How many times can I say that? Are you guys ready to make some harmony? Just gonna mimic what I did on the other side. Across the temple. Into the pocket of the cheek. The ear, the back of the jaw. Okay. Wow. So now from here, I'm going to take another step back. Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you guys see what I'm saying now? Like to take a step back and really take a look at your client's face. Okay. So, in this position right now, again, to run out in front of a candle. And she's gonna look glam, dewy, gorge. But we're not gonna stop here still. Then we're gonna move on. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? I know I talk a lot, I'm so sorry. I mean, that's kind of the point, I guess, of the class, isn't it? Listen to me talk. Huh? Oh my god, thank you for listening to me talk. Sometimes I feel like when I teach classes, it's like me forcing you guys to be my friends for like an hour and a half. Because I'm just like, what's going on, guys? Like, talk to me. You can't go anywhere else right now. So this is the shade 40. And the brow fixer. Yeah, the aqua resist brow fixer. Starting from the outer third of the tail of the brow. The reason why that I'm starting out here is because if I start all the way over here, do you see? You can put a little bit further in. There's more fullness in the very front of the brow. It becomes a little bit more sparse once it moves towards the tails, right? A lot of us have that experience across our walls. And you're gonna typically find that with most clients that sit in your chair. So you're gonna always start in this outer curve, even if it's a brow pencil, even if it's a definer, even if it's a pomade, it does not matter. Start it in that area. The reason why I say that, it makes just your life a lot easier because then if you're very thoughtful, I can also take whatever is on the brush left over and just drag it. Just drag it through. Because we're not trying to give like a super sculpted brow. Very effortlessly defined. Same on the other side. I don't know about you guys, but brows are like one of like, I have two things that when I do a makeup look that really give me a lot of anxiety, and it's eyebrows and lips. I used to be known for eyebrows, not anymore. You, huh? I just stopped going as hard as I did. So I just tend to opt for something that's a little bit softer than these. Anything that's like super clearly defined, super clearly like you're working with something that's like you need definition on it, right? You want to just make sure that it's going to be as like foolproof for you as possible. Now, obviously, I'm just kidding and everything. Of course, I know through eyebrows, but it's one of those things that like when you're doing it, you can get really, really lost in it, spend too much time doing it, and mess yourself up completely. So that's why when I say like make your life less challenging, it's because the less that you have to do, the less room for error that you have, really. And then anywhere that we have any particular gaps that I want to just define, keep it around some links, just go right there. See right there, my hand twitched up and move outside of the actual brow shape. Oh my god, what am I gonna do? It's a cream. You can rub it away. It's like not a big deal. It's not a cream. I lied to you. It's like a mascara formulation. That's what I meant to say. Stop judging me. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can you turn your head for me? Oh, okay, Gores. Oh my god. That's crazy. Amazing. Okay. So now from here, again, just like a clear gloss, you're good. We are going to go now into the actual lips themselves. Jocelyn has really beautifully pigmented lips. I want to try to maintain that integrity as much as possible. Again, this is more so about like Jocelyn's like natural features that we are enhancing. We're not trying to place a new face. So I'm going to go in with 606. Wherever walnut. Starting from the bottom into the middle of the bottom lip. Final glaze. I'm sorry? It's the artistry pencil, yeah. Like what ingredient inside of it? I'm not sure.
Sure.
I don't know I feel like that's probably a question that is maybe. Actually, a really good question. I have no idea. At least I'm honest. I do. Thank you. So now whenever I do my lips, I'll do it kind of in like a, you know, when we're in grade school and you kind of do like the drawings, like with like very like thin lines and you're just trying to like mechanical pencil style drawing, you know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing with like when you outline lips, at least for me and how it works with my hands. I tend to have very, very shaky hands. So that's why makeup can be accessible. You know, you got to just figure out the ways that you can also do it. So when it comes to the actual bottom lip specifically, I really like to get like a little bit more volume as much as I possibly can, right? To try to make the proportions of the face a little bit different, right? So I'm gonna go ever so slightly under the lip. This is the shade 606 and Wherever Walnut. And I'm gonna be starting. You kind of start on like the side of the Cupid's bow, and I kind of go into it. When you are moving it back, you are able to get like a little bit more of like a crisper line. When you're moving forward, you're able to get a little more of like a curved line with your hand, the actual mobility of your wrist. I'm sorry. Sure, sure, sure. So when you have if I could speak, I could repeat it. When you have a pencil in your hand, right? So before even then, take your wrist. If everyone wants to like lift up their wrist for a second, just actually feel it, right? So when you are going this way, you have a lot more tension, right? So these lines are going to be much more on the straighter end. They have a little more confidence inside of them, right? So they're going to be straighter. When you're flipping out this way, we're going to be having a natural curve happening in the hand, right? So when I do my lips, I use it from the side of the pencil, from over here, and I flip down because that's going to be straighter, and I will curve up instead. Does that make sense? Just slightly overlining as we're doing lips. And by overline, I mean like it's like literally directly on top of her actual lip line and a micrometer above it. Because going on the brush, I feel like one of the biggest faux pas that I see people do when it comes to trying to create like that overlined lip look or that like naturally plumper lip look. What you want to do is you want to diffuse it ever so slightly. Hot sec. Oh my god, hot sexy tip. Buff it out ever so slightly, right on the edge of the lip, right? Sitting on the bottom, on the sides, not underneath of it. We want to maintain the volume that's happening. On the sides and on the top, slowly. Because when you look at a lip, right, the lip itself doesn't just stop on its own. If we're trying to make this look as like natural as possible, but still give the look of like a fuller, oversized type of lip, you take some of the lip pencil, diffuse it on top of the natural lip line, because you're taking that pigment that would be naturally happening to lips and bring it ever so slightly upward. It's going to give the illusion that the lip is just a little bit bigger. Here, awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it's so fun seeing.
Now just going in with whatever left over from the brush with the concealer. Diffusing around the area that we just buffed. So that pigment that we placed, we're trying to kind of like melt it into the skin as much as possible. Because then right on top of that, we're gonna go back in with Forever Walnut onto the Cupid's bow. Do you see what I mean though? Now that we've been able to like diffuse like a little bit of that lip line, that pigment that's kind of blending out into the feathered skin, the placement of the pigment on top of it is going to just kind of reinforce the original shape and line that we have placed there.
What's up?
I'm so sorry, my darling. Would you mind repeating that for me one more time? It's okay.
So, how do you do that?
Sure, sure. That's a great question. So when it comes to a double lip line, a fine angled brush with a very full coverage concealer is going to be your best friend. When it comes to a double lip line, it's either going to look spilling out messy or it's going to look perfect, right? You have to take the time yourself as the makeup artist to carve back in the actual shape of the lip, because when it comes to a double lip line, it's very easy to get lost in it and to kind of like see exactly what it is in front of you. But as a makeup artist, when you are looking at the lip, if you know that it's not going to be a successful lip shape from far away, if this person is going to be looking like that they had just like smeared peanut butter and jelly across their face because the lip line is just a little bit too low, it's up to you to make that discretion, right? Now, obviously the client is going to have the final word and tell you, no, I'd rather you go and follow that one. That's up to you. That's completely that. But otherwise, you as the makeup artist, you kind of have that means to do so. Taking a fine angled brush with a fuller coverage concealer, placing that immediate amount of product right up against the actual lip line, and then taking off the brush, taking off whatever is on the brush, and blending that pigment back down. I'll show you a little bit of what I mean. We are just diffusing that out. Now you might notice that I did not place anything internally. I didn't want to. I'm going back in now with the Super Boost in the shade Wherever Walnut in 06. So this is a menthol-based lip gloss. So it doesn't have capsaicin inside of it, so it won't actually provide any sort of like that like lip numbing, plumping action. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. I don't know what you guys like. I'm like super gloss girl. I love gloss all the time, 24/7. I would say that my two favorite ones as of now are the Pat McGrath and this one. Those are my two favorite glosses. Do you guys remember when it was like super cold outside for like it was like 3-4 weeks, like a couple months ago? And it was like crazy windy and like super ridiculous. That was when I was testing out this particular gloss because a lot of glosses, especially like in high intense like weather conditions and everything, kind of just smear and like move everywhere. These I found that even after 4 hours of application, that my lips were still really hydrated. And you know when like gloss gives that like gunky like what the hell is going on in my lips? I didn't have that either. So for me, that was enough, babe. That was enough of a test to not feel that. So one more again. This particular gloss has a little bit of pigment to it. The glosses themselves are relatively sheer. So if you were like a super full cover, like opacity type of gloss person, it might not be the pigment that you are looking for personally, but for editorial, there's just like a really beautiful final touch to a lip look. It's just a really, really lovely gloss. From here, I'm using a brush that has nothing on it. Sometimes you might like go like a little bit out of the lip shape by mistake. Oopsies, oopsies. You can just buff it out. It's not a big deal. Awesome. We love to see it. So now from here, I'm going to be doing the second glass. So I'm taking now the shade 50 in the dark brown of the brown definer, the aqua resist brown definer. And I'm using this to make like the smallest eyeliner as possible. I'm not trying to do like a cat eye or anything, like the classic style, just to give a little bit more line movement across the lid. Firstly, place your product back down. If you are somebody who does not feel confident doing liner, just use browns, use brow pencils. It's completely okay. The wax that are inside of brow pencils are going to be a little bit more stiffer. You might not deposit as much product. So if you do not feel confident in like your black application or in your liner application, just using a brow pencil, you can be able to get away with it, and you can be able to figure it out until eventually you feel comfortable enough to use an eye pencil, that like the bigger general eye pencils. It's really dependent. It's really just a case dependent on the look that I'm trying to go for. So like if I'm going for like that, like so like in this case, right, I'm going with like the lazy sexy model type of look, you know what I mean? Like smoked out, just like some pigment onto the very like waterline and everything, and just a little smoky sultry. In this case, all I did was just use our the aqua resist pencils, ran that through the waterline and the tight line and everything. And then on top of it using the brow pencil, right? If I'm doing something that's on the lid, I personally do prefer maybe using like a pot of gel, like a gel pot liner. Liquid liners are not always my favorite. I love using liquid liners for line work. Very different than winged liner or liners across the eyes. Line work is very different. When it comes to line work, I love using liquid liner. When it comes to something that I want to maintain its place, I'll tend to use something that's like comes from a pot. Sure. So when it comes to like, when you have shaky hands, you gotta move on for that. You have to move quick. You know, you can't like sit there and like some folks I know in here probably have like a like sexy, ooh, so smooth.
Yeah.
Not it's not even, you know, and it's not going to be, and that's okay. That's okay. Just move as quickly as you can, and remember that Q-tips are your best friend. Bioderma, gentle eye gel, whatever is your favorite makeup remover. Honestly, our the brush cleaner that we have is 100% isododecane. It's a phenomenal mixer and remover across the skin. That's great. It works as an eraser. Like, I will definitely say editing is going to be your best thing to do. I remember actually when I was on tour this last year, because I was helping Laurel. If y'all know who Laurel Charleston is, she is a good friend of mine. When we were working together on the mask for Mel, I remember sitting there because Laurel's line work is just absolutely stunning. Like her work is so incredible. And I remember sitting there and watching her one day, and like the amount of time went into just revision, like placing the line and then revising it. It kind of like blew my mind for some reason because I was like, oh my God, like you're so incredible at your work. What do you mean that doesn't just like come out? She's like, no, bro, you're stupid. And yes, I was. You know, I was an idiot. It was obvious, you know. Hello? Good?
And what brush are you using to blend out?
I am. I love that you asked that. I'm using the 172. This would actually be a really, really great brush to use. To your point before about like the carving out of the double line, this would be a great brush to use for that specifically because it's a little bit more of a denser, fuller, fine angled brush versus like that super meticulous, tiny one. Okay, now look straight ahead. You look so stunning. Oh my God, look at you. Molly. My goodness. So now at this point in time, like if you like somebody who has like a more like super dewy look, this is great to have in front of them. If you want to add a little bit of powder, like say if you're this person wants to keep their makeup on and run throughout the day afterward, or say that they're a little bit oily, what have you. I'm going to be going in with the HD Skin Setting Powder in the shade 2.1. This one is medium neutral. I don't know if you guys have noticed too that I use primarily neutrals like across the board, like when it comes to like most cosmetics. The reason being is that I feel as though neutral products are able to be manipulated a little bit more for generally most people versus like a yellow base or a red base. Like powder puff. Excess. And now from here, we'll be taking the powder puff and grinding it into itself. Does anyone know why I do that? Why I'm doing that? I heard even, I heard deposit less. Absolutely, yeah. So when you might first go into like a powder product, you might see like it's just like it's catching in certain spots and it's not fully even, right? Grinding it into itself, you are not really losing product. It's just pushing it into the puff itself so that it's going to be a more even finish across the board. So now from here, let's say that it doesn't feel like fully like even yet across the puff. Can you give me the back record, please? Thank you. Awesome. So now from here, we're going underneath the eye. I do not like placing my powders directly onto the actual pocket of the orbital bone a lot of the time. What I will do first is that I'll place it down and then very gently, lightly set above it into this area. Does anyone have any idea why I do it that way? Any thoughts about that also? Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of the times, the reasons why that your client might feel that the lines underneath their eyes are way too pronounced is because you're just applying too much product into those areas, you know? Again, like we are trying to kind of trick the eye into thinking that some things are happening when they're not and vice versa. So a really great way to do that specifically when it comes to texture, right? Skin texture and how it interacts with lights. So because I'm using a super sheer amount right above the pocket, like right into that area. Thank you. I think so too. It's going to make it look a lot more even in that area if you had done it a different way. I think that in some ways you're still like stuck in like if you're concealing the under eye, it should be all the way up into the immediate lash line. And don't gotta be like that, babe. Like it's okay that it's not all the way up there. It's like fine.
So.
Exactly, yeah. Totally. Exactly. So it's like just make your job easier, make your life easier. I'm just using now a little bit of additional product just to set the main center part of the face. Size the names. Just kind of maintain it over here. So that trigger cut.
It's perfect.
Yeah. You're telling me.
Makes makeup so much easier.
Look. You're just setting also. Awesome. And now from here, we're going to set your face completely using the message bit. So over 1, 2, 3.
Over it. Setting spray when the client comes in the very over.
So in that case specifically, I will literally use a fan. Like, and I will use the fan to avoid the hair as much as possible. Yeah. 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 Yeah, sure. If you want to come take this, totally. Oh, we just- I didn't even tell you guys that this is done. It's done. Thank you so much. So please feel free to stand on up if you want to take a closer look at Jocelyn's face. If you have any questions about it, please let me know.